Hello everyone, it's Farket here. In this video, I'm going to show you how to build a drawbridge. It can be done using a small raft or a crane. I'm going to show you how to do both, as both have their pros and cons. Now this also doubles as a trap. Cannibals still detect the floor there and they'll run over it, so they'll end up in the water. This is a great way to protect your island if you're building there, or you could just use it as a trap. It seems that cannibals and mutants don't recognize the floor missing and will continue to run on it. Cannibals and mutants also can't walk on the small raft or the crane, so you can leave them there and they'll run over them and end up in the water anyway. It's a lot of fun and it's a great way to look after your base. Make sure they're not using your bridge, because they will use your bridge and cross it. Now I'm going to cover the crane designs first and then move on to the small raft designs. They're very similar, so you could probably chop and change if you want to. Though, as you can see, it is very effective. Whether it's exploitive, that's completely up to the individual. I'm going to save the way I prefer for last, but this is one of the easiest ways. What you want to do is build a rock wall and build a box shape. And it's crucial that you have the rock walls just sitting out of the water. Make sure you have it on flat ocean quality so you can see where you're actually placing them. Once you've placed like a box shape, try and keep it as even as possible. Count the rocks going around. Build both ends of it and then cancel the sides, you don't need them. Now with the crane one, you're going to need it wide, and I'll explain very shortly why. Once it's done, chuck a custom stairs on it. Now the problem with this is that you can't get rock walls to go any lower, but I'll cover this later on if you want to save logs on stairs, as this is really expensive doing this. And it looks like shit too. It's all crooked. Once it's all done, get the crane out and try and align it up as much as possible. Keep in mind the rope spindle on the corner. That's the rope that's going to pull it up and down. As you can see, mine's on the far left. Place that, it will clear the floor. That's what you want. And there you go. And you can use it to lift it up and down, so it looks like a realistic drawbridge. And the reason you want the bridge wide, so you can access the rope spindle to pull it up and down on the side there. If it's not wide enough, you'll end up in the water trying to get to it, and you won't be able to use it. And it's just a pain. But this is 8 logs across, and I can access the spindle. I don't know what the proper terminology is for it. Rope handle? I don't know. But yes, this is the main issue with crane ones, is that you can't take a log sled across. It doesn't work. It just glitches out. Though this has been the way since it was implemented, they might fix this later on. I'm not sure. So this is the main problem with the crane, and it's the reason why I prefer the small raft method, which I will show shortly. Benefit of the crane, though, is that you can still fit a small raft underneath it. Unfortunately, you cannot fit a houseboat or large raft if you do it this way. Though I didn't check if you park the small raft underneath if you could take a log cart through it. It might be worth testing. Now another issue is you can't pull it down on that side, you have to jump over. Maybe having a small raft there will be good to stop you from getting wet. Moist. And to show you it works, I spawned in some friends. Tried to lure them onto the bridge, it didn't do so well. Got a few there, it's not too bad. It is crucial that you make sure the water's deep enough that they'll drown. That's probably the most important thing. Building this over Geese Lake would work pretty well. And this cowman manages to get me on the boat. But I got my karma, he drowned. So they will walk into the water. Keep in mind that islands aren't on patrol routes, but they still can be attacked if your base gets too big. There's mechanics in the game that will send them to attack regardless. And if you have this, and they start walking on your bridge, and you're further enough away, they won't attack the bridge, and they'll just fall into the water and die. You won't even notice that they were there. You just see a whole bunch of corpses underneath the water. Now there is another way to build with the crane, and that's to build the crane first. I'm not sure which method is better. This one didn't turn out so well for me, but maybe because I only built it once. I just thought I'd show you how to do it both ways. This way might be easier because you could see where the level is and you'll make sure it's level. It's the same as before, keep it just above the water there and build the bridge. And I managed to get this one on an angle. I don't know how I did that. But yes, you can clear the floor with the crane still inside it. It won't destroy the crane. Cranes have to be destroyed by hitting them, I believe. Or by getting cannibals or mutants to do it. And just clear it. Try and be as accurate as you can. You don't want too many big gaps, you might fall through yourself. You don't want that. Yes, this is another way to do it. Unfortunately, I stuffed up the end and it had a bit of rock wall sticking through, and I had to use a lot of stairs for it. These methods probably work best when you've got building destruction mode off. If you're hanging around while they are there, they probably will attack your structures. Like this Armsy starts swinging at me and he takes out my crane and my bridge. So if you're around, they will attack, but if you're further enough away, they won't attack the structures. Just keep this in mind. You know how the AI is in this game. It's fairly unpredictable. Now the small raft method is better. It's essentially the same. I just skipped over building the rocks, and you just cut a hole to the size of the small raft and make sure you don't destroy the small raft. You can tell when you're using the hole cutter, it will go red. I just wasn't paying attention here. Now this is 8 logs across, and it seems to be the width of a small raft. Just measure it as much as you can. As you can see here, I actually thought it would fit, but it just was a little too narrow, and I couldn't fit the raft inside. Now log sleds can go over small rafts. I had no idea about this before I was testing it. So this is actually quite handy. Though cannibals and mutants will fall through it. They can't get on the boat, which is very good to know. And here's a log sled going over the small raft. As you see, there's no issues. It does wobble around a bit. If it's wedged in there really tight, it might flick it about, but I never actually seen this happen. So you can sit here for a while, and it can easily be moved in and out. Though you don't need to. You can just leave it there and the cannibals will still run over it. Now this method is the easiest method, but I don't recommend it because it doesn't work that well. And it's also more expensive, but it's just using a custom foundation to do the bridge, and then you cut holes in it. Unfortunately, when you cut the holes, it still leaves the side of the platform. You could probably get your weapon out and destroy that section, and hopefully it won't come down and crumble. Though I didn't test this, you could give it a go yourself if you want. As you can see here with the log sled and the small raft, it still works. I cut a big hole in that one. It's a little too big. I think I might fall through that one. But yes, this is the reason why it doesn't work so well. If they fall through the middle or go off the side, they're fine, but they can use the sides to walk on it. And cannibals even jumped this one for some reason. Also, platforms and custom foundations can be climbed by cannibals, so this can make it a little bit more dangerous. I didn't manage to see them do it here. Avoid this method if you can. Now this is the method that I recommend you do. What you do is you build a custom foundation like I did before. I'm making this about 6 wide. And you run it across and build it. You're not completing this one, you're just using it as a guide. Jesus, I do say that a lot, don't I? Make sure it's square. Well, rectangle, or whatever shape that is. Okay, so once that's done, you want to get out another custom foundation. And what you want to do is you want to align it as accurately as possible. Make sure it's at the right height, and you'll see why. You might want to make it a bit higher. And you also want to make sure it aligns. So see what I'm doing here? You place it and then you run it along and see how accurate it's going to line up. Because this is going to affect things pretty big. And then you make a little box like that. Now the reason I find this way the best method is because it saves you building custom stairs. Well, you still can build custom stairs, but it goes the whole way across. Unfortunately, rock walls have a height and you can't place them this close to the land, because the small raft and crane won't match up. It will be too high and it won't work. You could do the crane, but if you want it to set default at the bottom, do it this way. Or the other ways I mentioned. Okay, complete the ends and cancel the original blueprint. Now this is a problem why you want to make it a little bit higher, is when you attach a custom floor, which is extremely difficult to do. I'm surprised how long this actually took me to do. It was a massive pain. You're looking for a C. Once you find it, click and try and align it up. Now you see what happens here? It's sitting just underneath the custom foundation rather than sitting flush with it. It might be a good idea to make these platforms a bit wider in case you get any discrepancies like this. As you can see, it's on an angle. I'm just going to do it from this way. Much better and easier. And it'll also be more flat. The longer the logs, the less flat it is. It's got bumps and stuff in it. But yeah, there's a bit of a lip there. But not enough to trip, I don't believe. And I can walk straight on and off it. You wouldn't even need to build custom stairs with this one, so it will look like a pretty clean build. Once that's done, you could either use your crane, but I'm going to use a small raft as this is my favorite design of this drawbridge. Yes, can't use a boat while it's on the bridge. Makes sense though, I guess. Now I cut holes here. I would have done it a little bit more towards the mainland, as you want to do it on the deepest part. You get your hole cutter out. You've got a fair few cuts before you run out, so keep that in mind. I cut 7 here, and it seems to be the perfect shape. So 7 logs if you're building it this way. If the logs are running long ways, you won't be able to tell. You just have to guess as much as possible. I couldn't back that well over it. You can maneuver it a bit, though it works fairly well anyway. If you attach the custom floor to the platform that's on the island last, then that's the one that needs to be destroyed to destroy the bridge. If you attached it last to this one, the last point on the mainland, if they destroy that platform, the bridge is going to come down. It's so complicated to explain that. It's so hard. Anyway, I spawned some more friends, gave them an invitation, and as you can see, the small raft is here, and they just end up in the water. Now you won't ever have this many enemies. It's just to elaborate how useful and how effective this can be. And I managed to get some airtime with the raft. Keep in mind that Vengence probably could jump that. Just don't stand too close, and that way they won't attack the bridge or try and jump. Cannibals and mutants generally only attack structures when you're nearby. Though armsies are a little bit different, they're just chaotic. They just like to destroy everything. You've probably heard them attacking random trees before when you're not been around. They just like to destroy shit. Anyway, I hope you found this video helpful. If you're ever building on islands and you want a bridge, definitely go this method. Normal bridges can be crossed. You can still use a normal bridge and defend it at the other end, but if you're not there to defend the walls, they'll end up attacking them. So this just gives you a little bit of insurance that they're not just going to wander into your base. I've built on islands before, and I've had a bridge, and it's been nighttime, and then all of a sudden you have a cannibal just standing there watching you on the island, and it's just too much. Or you could have Virginias and Armsies sneak across, and that is not fun. As mentioned, the last design was my favorite because it saves the most resources, and I try to focus my builds on looking good, working well, and saving resources. The old costs versus benefit method. And as always, if you like this video, make sure you like and subscribe. Cheers.